Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Brooke Bownes is a coach and a best-selling author who's also known as the Breakthrough Queen. She gets recognised at networking meetings because of the videos she does on LinkedIn wearing funny wigs. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast, Brooke.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to having a chat with you.
Now, you're a life coach, an executive coach, you're a best-selling author, lots of strings to your bow. But what's your background, Brooke? What did you do before you came to coaching?
I worked in a housing association, actually, as a team leader and a coach, helping my team, coaching them and also helping the tenants as well. So, but I've done numerous jobs, but that was the last one I did before I decided to go full in on my business.
And so what was it that brought you to coaching in the first place?
An accident. Purely by accident. I would love to say it was an epiphany I had or something, but it wasn't. I've always been, ever since I was a young child, one of these people that ask people questions and get them to think in a bit of a different way. And a few of my friends were saying at one point, you really should do this sort of like full time and get paid for it. You've helped us all so much. I'm like, yeah, I just love it and really enjoy it. And then a friend of mine said, oh, I'm going on this coaching weekend. It's like you get a little diploma at the weekend. It's a free weekend, but I don't want to go on my own, and I know you love to learn. Do you fancy coming with me? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. We'll have a nice weekend together as well. When I got to the coaching weekend, I thought, okay, I already do that. Oh, I already do that. Okay, I already do that. So I thought maybe I should look into this coaching more. So then I went ahead and carried on and got my coaching qualifications, and I've got lots of different qualifications now since, because I still love to learn. And so here I am. And but also as well, because I grew up with a terrible belief system. And when I started doing my coaching, I realised that, you know, I could do some work on myself, and I actually changed my belief system and went from believing that I was useless, worthless and would never amount to anything because of my childhood and growing up with my mother, to being the person I am today, running a successful business and being a best-selling author, coach, therapist, speaker, like you said, many hats I wear.
Yeah, so tell me a bit more about the work that you did in yourself, and how you changed the way that you think about yourself.
Well, that's quite interesting, because I grew up with a narcissistic mother who constantly told me daily that I was useless, worthless, I would never amount to anything, nobody would ever love me, and she wished I'd have died at birth, because I had quite a traumatic birth. So as you can imagine, hearing that daily didn't help my belief system. No. And then at 16, I did the classic left home and went into the frying pan out the fire, and ended up in a narcissistic relationship. And then I suddenly realised, actually, the common denominator here is me. So if I don't change, I'm going to keep attracting the same sort of people, because I was a huge people pleaser, and I was out thinking I could help everybody and fix people and all this kind of thing. So I started working on my mindset, and then I kind of got into that, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I was stood at the back of a hall one day and waiting to go on stage, being mic'd up. And I was like gun-ho to do it in my mind, but my body was like telling me a whole different story. I was sweating, my heart was pounding, I felt sick. And for 2 pins, I could have ran in the other direction, because this little voice in my head popped up and said, what do you think you're doing? Now, logically, I knew what I was doing. I was going to go on stage to inspire people and give them hope and get them thinking about what they could do with their lives. But my body was fighting it. So I then got into looking at how trauma's held in the body, working with your inner child, because I realised that our inner child is the one who actually holds the strings and will pull us back if they're not happy. Now, if we're happy and contented to do stuff, like if I speak to somebody who drives a car and I said to them, can you just pop down the shop and get me some milk? They'll go, yeah, sure, no problem. But if they've also got a fear of like speaking on stage, for example, or being visible online, and I say to them, okay, go do a Facebook Live or go talk on stage, their body would suddenly react, and like, even though they know they've got the knowledge and the skills to do it. And that's the inner child going, whoa, I'm happy to go and drive and get some milk because I'm confident I can do that, but I don't feel good enough to be on stage and talk in front of loads of people. So that inner child will pull the strings back and create something like procrastination or self-sabotage, or that feeling of like, I just can't do this and I'll go run and hide somewhere. So I really got into finding out all about that and how that works. And that's how I managed to change my belief system about myself, because I connected really well with my inner child, found out what she was scared of. And because when I first went to do a Facebook Live on my personal profile, I procrastinated for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I thought, what's going on? Even to the point of, you know, that messy drawer that everybody seems to have in the kitchen with the odd pen top and paperclip. I thought, no, that's more important suddenly to clean out than it is to do a Facebook Live. Even though logically I knew I'd got the skills and the knowledge to help people, my inner child was going, no, we'll have a bit of procrastination come in to stop you doing that, because for my inner child, it was safer to keep small and not speak out, because as a child, whenever I spoke out, I was in trouble. So my inner child didn't want to do that.
Yeah. So how long would you say it took for you to kind of overcome all of that?
Oh, it's been a few years, and I still always say that I'm a work in progress, because every time you level up, there's all different things come on. But thankfully now, because I know what it is and what's causing it, I help my clients a lot quicker than I went through the process. But I've been like studying mindset and stuff ever since my relationship with my narcissist kind of broke up. And I thought, when I have children, because I always want to have children, I wanted to break that cycle, and I wanted to have a good relationship with my children with a partner that is kind and loving. So yeah, I've been doing mindset work and all this sort of work on me since my early 20s, and I think it's always an ongoing process, because like I said, once you level up to do something, like when I first wrote my book, the day that came out and was being published, like, my goodness, everybody's going to see my writing in a book, and it's like, and it's always a different thing that you need to like deal with. But I know it doesn't stop me now. It's just, okay, these feelings have come up. I know how I can deal with them. I've got the tools and the techniques to sort them out. And it doesn't stop me in my tracks doing anything I want to do now. I will do all sorts of things now out of curiosity as well.
So tell me something about your clients. Who are your clients? What kind of people do you work with?
I tend to work with business owners, mainly women, because that's who I am. They all say that your ideal client is yourself, like only a few years back. So I love to help women that have got the skills and got the knowledge, but they're a bit scared to be visible, to be seen, because they suddenly think, well, what will people think of me if I suddenly start doing videos and start doing lives and things that, people think, who do you think I am, sort of thing, to do that. And it's getting people to realise that their voice is important, and what they've got to say to people want to hear, and to help them to live the life that they really want, instead of living the life that they think they should live. And I think, especially with women, we grow up thinking that we need to put everybody else first, because we watched our mothers and our grandmothers, put everybody else first. And it's selfish to actually go for what we want to do. But I love to encourage women to actually go for what they want, because actually when we do that, we inspire other people to go for what they want to do, and everybody's happier for it.
So how do you help them? What's the sort of format of your coaching?
I do various different things. I've got sort of different modalities I use, but it's a lot of my intuition. I will ask questions that people say, oh my goodness, I've never thought of thinking about that question before, or the answer. And they'll say, oh, I've never gone there. And I also do a thing called brain spotting, which helps to release emotion and trauma that's stuck in the body, that could be stuck there for years and years. Even if people say to me, well, thankfully I didn't have a mother like yours, my parents were kind and caring and loving, and I always love to hear that as well. But we've all suffered some kind of trauma in some way, shape or form, whether it's in the school playground, by a teacher that said something. So brain spotting is a great way to actually help to release that. And what brain spotting does, it actually gets to the part of the brain where the fight, flight and fear kind of centre is, the amygdala, where all the fear is held. And it basically, it's like it opens the door to release whatever's ready to be released. And it's fascinating because everybody that does it with me is completely different. Some people suddenly say, oh, my left hand's gone cold, or my right hand's gone warm, or I've got a tingle in my foot, and it's just the body processing all the stuff that's been stuck there for years. So I do different kind of modalities. I'm a hypnotherapist as well, so I've used hypnotherapy, and it just depends on the client that's in front of me and what happens. I never have like a set thing that needs to be done, because I could say to a client, okay, and they may say, well, I'm struggling with my boundaries. And say, okay, if I said, okay, we'll work on that next week when we have a session, but the following week, something may have come up within that week that is more important to deal with than the boundaries they had. So I always just go with where the client's at right now and work with what they need to deal with right there and then.
Yeah. And what kinds of results do your clients see?
All sorts of things. I've had a client that was once absolutely petrified of picking up a phone and speaking to people, and now they will actually talk to people and phone people and have no issues with it. I've had people that are absolutely petrified of going on stage and speaking in front of people, and now speak all over the world. I've had women that have had issues with money because of something that's been said when they were a child and didn't realise, and they've gone on to earn the money that they want to earn. And it's all the things that you think, oh, well, I can't reach out to that client because what will they think of me? Well, actually, that client's going to think whatever they're going to think, but let's get you reaching out to people and not just focus on that one particular person, because when we start reaching out to people and don't have that fear of what's everybody going to think of me, because we're all going to think whatever we're going to think from the experiences that we've had in the world, so we can't control that. So I helped women to think about what they really want, and then we work on a plan to actually get them to go for what they really want to go for. And as we do that, we find the blockers and the barriers that have held them back. And often, I work with a lot of women who are sort of like 40 plus, and they've grown up with a generation of fear, and children should be seen and not heard. So they're scared to use their voice, because every time they go to speak out, they think, well, no, I'm doing it wrong because I should sit and be quiet and wait and speak only when spoken to. Or hearing that saying, stop showing off, and nobody likes to show off, so they won't talk about things that they do, because, of course we naturally don't want to be hated. We all want to be liked, because it's a survival mechanism at the end of the day. So, but it's understanding how our brain and body are working, because once we realise our subconscious mind is there to keep us alive and keep us safe, and everything else we want to do, we have to intentionally plan for it and move forward in that way. And we understand that our body, whatever it's doing, it's got good intention to keep us safe, but sometimes it doesn't actually work with the things we want to do.
Yeah. So tell me about how you got your name, the Breakthrough Queen.
That's quite interesting, really. It was a couple of clients who actually said that to me. They'd had issues blocks that had held them back for years. And they said to me, oh my goodness, you are the breakthrough queen. I would have never broke through that belief without your help. And a couple of my clients said it. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take that name and own it, because it's interesting, because when I go to networking things now and I say, oh yeah, I'm the breakthrough queen, they're like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So, like you just said, where's that come from? So it's a conversation starter as well.
Yeah. And tell me about your book. What's your book called, and why did you write it?
My book is called You Can Have It, How to Break Through the Self-Sabotage Cycle, and it's a book that I wish was about when I was struggling with self-sabotage. But one of the reasons I actually wrote it wasn't to be like a best-selling author, New York Times seller or anything. I decided to challenge myself to write and publish it in 90 days and document it on social media so people could come along on the journey with me. And what I wanted to do was to inspire people as I was doing it to think, what could they achieve in 90 days? Not a kind of, I've done this so you can do it, but more of, okay, well, Brooke's doing that. what's possible that I could actually do to get people thinking. And that's what I love to do, to interrupt people's thinking and thinking that they have to go down this particular road because that's what everybody else has said that they should do, or that's kind of like the considered norm, whatever the norm is, and actually think outside the box a bit more and realise that actually they can achieve things. And it was interesting because when I first announced it and started, people were saying, oh my goodness, you're brave, I couldn't do that, possibly do that, you know, at least all in 90 days. And then I started getting messages from people saying, oh, I've had an idea for a book, or I wrote my first paragraph, or I've gone for promotion, figuring if you can write a book in 90 days, I can just, you know, ask somebody to if I can go for a promotion.
Yeah.
People had changed and had dream jobs. So for me, before the book was even published, it was a success because people were thinking differently and being inspired to do other things for themselves that they wanted to do.
Yeah, fantastic. And you've written for another book as well, haven't you? Tell me about that one.
Yeah, it was a collaboration book that I wrote with 14 other women. It was all about how we've gone through either domestic violence and narcissistic abuse, and it was our story. So we collaborated and got together, and there's like 15 separate little stories about how we've gone from what we were going through and where we are now.
And what's the title of that one?
And that's called The Unseen Wounds of Women.
Yeah. So let's turn to the networking now, which you have mentioned a little bit already. Where do you like to network and how do you like to network?
I love to network in person, even though I'm an introvert, but I do love to be around people and love to socialise and I'm a big hugger, so I love to hug people that like to be hugged. And I do go to as many events as I can, but because I live out in the countryside, a lot of them are in the bigger cities, but I'm actually decided, because I'm a solution-focused person, that, it's a pain to travel. And like if I go to London, it's 2 days out of my business. So I've actually set up a local event that I'm running my first one next month on the 24th of October. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be doing a bit of mindset work, some networking with a difference, not a dry 60-second pitch or anything like that. And then doing some brainstorming and having cake there as well, which is always a good thing.
Oh, yeah, always a bonus. Now, when we had a little chat before the recording, you mentioned about wearing wigs to networking. Explain that to me.
Yeah, that was... I was wearing my wigs to do my videos because I decided to be more intentional on LinkedIn last July. And last August, I set myself another challenge, because I do love a challenge, to do 365 days of videos on LinkedIn. And because I like to keep myself entertained and I like to dress up and have a bit of fun, I've got all different colour wigs, like, you know, the glittery gold ABBA-looking wig, a bright blue one, a bright green one. And often after doing a few videos, I'd go to networking, people would come up to me and say, oh my goodness, I love that video you did with the bright green wig on, you know. It was really good fun. It made me stop scrolling, but the message you said was really, really hit home. And I thought, I have no idea who these people are, but they obviously know me. And it was again, the challenge I did was to let people know that it's okay to just be you and be visible on social media, and people will be attracted to you because you're actually you. You don't have to have that mask of, okay, I need to pretend to be something else, you know, what other people expect me to be. So, and I've done all sorts of things. I've had a colander on my head and wore a monkey suit, because I talk a lot about the inner child, but some people don't, you know, understand it because it's more of a therapy type term. So I thought a lot of people have heard of the inner chimp. So my husband's got a monkey all-in-one onesie. So I borrowed that and dressed up as a monkey and went on video and said, I'm your inner chimp and I'm scared because, you know, if I speak out, people will think I'm showing off or whatever it was that is on the video. But, you know, and it was just having some fun and letting people know it's okay to have your personality and be you, and also be a professional and run a business. Yeah,
but that's great that you go along to networking meetings and people have seen those videos and tell you they've seen you in your funny wig or your monkey suit. Obviously, it makes you stand out, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's not many therapists and coaches I know that have wore a monkey suit or a colander on a video. And I was actually chatting at one networking event and somebody said, it would be really funny if you wore your monkey suit with a colander on your head as well. So after that, of course I did that. Well, not easy to do, having a colander on your head and doing a video at the same time, but yeah, it's all good fun.
So tell me what you get from networking, why you keep going.
It's the connections I make, the conversations. I love, one of my values is connection, and I love to connect with people and find out their story and just see where I can help them, because I've often had conversations at networking because I'm really good at picking up the words people use, and it's often sometimes a word that they keep repeating to themselves or saying that if you just tweak it a little bit can actually break through a belief that's actually been holding them back for a long, long time. And it's lovely going to networking where people say, oh yeah, I'm really stuck because of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, have you thought about saying it this way, doing it this way? And they're like, oh my goodness, no, that would make a huge difference. And then a few weeks later, they'd be messaging me saying, oh my goodness, it's changed so much because I don't say that word anymore.
Yeah. And is networking something that you recommend to your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's online or in person, it's having those conversations, it's making those connections, because you just never know where they'll lead and who you'll meet through them. And I've met a lot of my ideal clients when I've been at networking meetings, or people have referred me because oh my goodness, I had this quick chat with Brooke and she really helped, give her a call and have a chat with her.
Yeah. So one last question then, Brooke. If people are interested in working with you or just finding out more about you, what's the best place for them to find you?
Either to email me at brooke@brookebownes.com or come and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, and I shall look out for your videos and your fancy wigs.
Brilliant.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.